What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Elsperman, and you are listening to part 3 of Prep Season 2024. In this episode, you're going to learn how to exactly and tangibly take your vision from just an ideal of what would be nice to experience this year and close the gap into tangible daily action steps that you can start closing the gap from where you are to where you desire to be with ease. This is not just about goal setting, but taking it a step further and doing something a little bit different that's going to increase your follow through and actually make it happen this year. Because you know what they say, many people will set New Year's resolutions, but did you know that only 9% of people will follow through, which to me just blows my absolute mind. Why is that not higher? In this episode, I'm going to reveal to you the very thing that you can start doing within your life to increase that follow through and see your goals and your vision come to fruition this year. It's about to be the best year yet because you are preparing for everything that you've prayed for. So if you haven't been here before, welcome to Prep Season. Prep Season is what I have declared the season of January through March, where we are going in and preparing your entire life and business from your vision to your identity and who you're being every single day to the habits that you're completing and the structure and systems that make it all happen, such that when you inevitably receive all of the success that you've been planting seeds for, you are ready to be able to hold it, grow it, and evolve it. Because the truth is, so many people will say that they want to radically shift their life, especially in the beginning of the year. But how many people are actually putting in the work to shift daily actions and who they're being every single day, such that when that opportunity walks in the door, you are ready? So many people will have that opportunity walk in, and because they've been on their heels saying, oh, well, when I have that opportunity, then I'll start acting in this way. When I have that opportunity, then I will start showing up in my life in this way. No, you start showing up in your life right now, because if you are resting on your heels, when that opportunity walks in the door, you're not going to be ready to receive it, or you might receive it. And then sometimes what happens, either you grow with it, you evolve with it, you're up for the challenge, or you sabotage it. That's not happening this year because you are preparing every single ounce of your life such that you are being the version of yourself that you see at the end of this year already, and you inevitably draw your success closer and closer and closer to you even faster. Are you ready for the best year of your life? Well, then you are in the right place. If you've been feeling that nudge that you know that you're here for something big, it's time to prepare your life. And I'm going to walk you through it. So I got you here. If you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2, those are live on the podcast. Go back and listen to them in order. They're going to walk you through step by step each of the pieces, everything we do with intention and with purpose. This has been thoroughly thought through, and I take all of my clients through it as well. And it has been life-changing, to say the least. So go through it step by step. However, if you're up to date, welcome to part 3. You know that in the last session, we talked all about activating your vision for this year. Not only did we go into your vision, which included an entire visioning meditation, but we also then dropped into your specific goals. So we created tangible goals for each area of your life, and then took it one step further and brought it into your identity of what version of yourself that you get to activate in order to start thinking differently and therefore acting differently, so that you can create lasting, long-term, sustainable change within your life. Now, traditional advice will just stop there. Traditional advice will say if you set the goals and if they're big enough and they're juicy enough and they're outside of your comfort zone enough, then you will just magically achieve them, right? And this advice, many times, I know for me, it created a lot of frustration, because I'd be like, well, I'm setting the big goals, I'm doing the thing, but why isn't my follow through there? And so maybe you're the type of person where you know that you could be playing bigger in your life. So you set these big goals, but for some reason, your life has not yet matched up to those goals that you set for yourself. What is the missing piece? Why is it that 9% of people, only 9%, follow through on their New Year's resolutions? Well, if it were about goal setting, wouldn't that follow through number be bigger? Most people will stop at goal setting and just wonder why their results are mediocre when they could be better. So if you are ready to go for better, so in this episode, I'm going to reveal to you the key differentiating factor between those who succeed in their goals and those who are in a continual state of trying, which is not fun for anyone and inevitably ends in burnout. If you've been there, you know it. It's not fun. It's time to start increasing follow through so that you can get those wins, create momentum, and start living the life that you know you are destined for. So before we get too deep into the podcast, a couple of announcements for you. If you've been listening, you know that every single one of these episodes has its own downloadable worksheets that's in the show notes. So if you want to take yourself from just thinking about these things and saying, oh, Steph, that's a really great idea, to actually implementing them in your life, these are completely free. I'm giving away some of my best exercises just for listening to this podcast. It's pretty bonkers, but for me, it's super fun. So you can find those in the show notes, and I 10 out of 10 recommend. Now, the other announcement is something that's super fun and exciting. And this is something I want to do with prep season, just for those of you who are following along, as a huge thank you for being a part of this community and creating the shifts that you want to see within your life. It just absolutely astounds me, even to just have one listener to this podcast. It makes my heart just absolutely light up, and to hear your responses and how it's impacting you just creates an incredible fire. So if you do one thing and one thing only, and that is post a written review on either Spotify or Apple, and send me a screenshot on Instagram at Stephanie Elsperman with your written review, I will give you my signature masterclass, Get Paid for Your Purpose, completely free. Literally completely free, just giving it away to you as a huge thank you for writing a review and allowing this message to get out to even more people. So that masterclass is all about how you can create a full-time income in alignment with your purpose. If you are in business, really looking at elevating your pricing and creating high-ticket offers and creating a streamlined sales process to take someone from a raving fan into a client. It's a 3-part masterclass that is absolutely packed with everything that you need to know to create a full-time income, living your purpose, from elevating your pricing to creating a high-ticket offer, to taking somebody from a follower all the way into a client, and really just understanding what it's like to step up in the world as a leader and do work that is in alignment with your passion and your purpose and the impact that you really want to create in this world. So you could even pause this right now, take 30 seconds of your life, write that review, send it over to me, and you'll get it free. And I can't wait to see them. So without further ado, let's head into the rest of the podcast episode. So here's the real truth about goal setting, is that the greats and those who succeed in their goals and those who don't succeed in their goals still set the same goal. They still set the same goal. So every entrepreneur who goes into business wants to have a successful business. Every basketball player who goes into the NBA wants to have a championship. Every person who goes into interview for the job likely wants a job. So it's not about the goal that creates greatness. If it were about the goal, then every single basketball player who goes into the NBA would have a championship. If it were about the goal, then every single person who ever started a business would be millionaires. Most of the time, people will set a goal without understanding what it actually takes to get there. You think you've set the goal, and because you have enough willpower and you're generally pretty capable, you're just going to get there, right? That's the beauty of being a high performer, is you typically trust yourself and your ability to create change in your life. However, if we look at somebody like Kobe Bryant, inevitably one of the greatest of all time, the reason why he was one of the greatest of all time was not just because he wanted a championship, was because there are countless stories, and I love hearing these stories about him waking up before everybody else while his entire team was sleeping and refusing to leave the gym until he made 800 shots. 800. Once everybody else got to practice, he had already done 6 hours in the gym. Insane. Absolutely insane. It's not about the goal that made him great. Everybody else in the room had the same goal, but it's the actual shift in behavior of what you are willing to do and what habits are you willing to create that create greatness, because it's the consistency that over time allows you to see what's working, what's not working, course correct, and be able to make 1% changes every single day that inevitably get you to your goal. Now, the thing is, if we're only focused on this outcome based goal and you're just holding this goal and saying, I want this specific thing, whether it's you want your first 10K a month in your business, what starts to happen is then you're constantly looking at your life and looking at your goal and saying, why am I not there yet? Looking at your life, looking at your goal, why am I not there yet? Looking at your life, looking at your goal, why am I not there yet? Right? This goal that's supposed to be igniting and exciting, and sometimes it is, it can also at the same time create a little bit of lack of like, I should have been there faster. Did it happen? Did it not happen? You're continually asking yourself, like, when's it going to happen? Which again, it can be exciting. However, Kobe didn't play the game just by looking at the scoreboard the entire time and saying, did we get there? Are we there? No, he was in it, actually playing. And how he got there to play at the level that he was playing was through his practice, through his habits that were consistently over time created and evolved into a repeatable system that created the outcome. Those habits set you up for small wins every single day. Or how many times have you created a goal, you set a goal, and then once you actually completed that goal and you crossed it off, all of the habits that you put in place and all of the training maybe that you did to get to that place kind of just go out the window because your motivation is lost, right? Because you don't have that thing that's actually moving you forward towards it. I remember when I was training for a half marathon, I wanted to run a half marathon so freaking bad. I did all of the training. After I did that half marathon, yeah, I continued running, but was it at the same consistency? Absolutely not. Because my entire focus was on that specific outcome. And did it feel good to run the half marathon? 100%. Did it work? Yeah. But did it create long lasting change over time such that I'm just now a runner in my life? No, it didn't, because life happens, right? And sometimes even when life happens and you get a little bit further away from your goal, it's just like, I'm already this far away, might as well just throw in the towel and not do it, right? So when we're prioritizing goals, there's so much pressure on this specific outcome that so many things can just come up and take us off of our game. Now, if we're looking at creating long-term sustainable success, which you all know is what I am all about over here, we want to be in your purpose for your entire life. This is where habits come in, where habits set you up to create these small wins every single day that boost your confidence, that boost your momentum, that give you that little dopamine hit of like, holy shoot, I am changing my life right now. I am actively changing my life. And it might not be these grandiose, huge, big action steps, but they're incremental things that inevitably will shift your outcome. So instead of focusing on just the goals, start to focus on what are you doing every single day to get there? What are the consistent, repeatable habits that you can create within your own life that are going to give you that 1% shift? Getting 1% better every single day, by the end of this year, your life will look completely different. It might not be as sexy to some, but if I learned anything, it's exactly what works. Changing your life over time rather than burning yourself out trying to do all of this action all at once, because action is cool. I love action steps. You guys hear me talk about it all the time. However, taking this one action step, this one time, like saying, I'm just going to post on social media, right? Giving yourself that action step, it takes extrinsic motivation, right? So it takes a level of energy to get yourself in the place to actually take action on it. However, when we focus on habits over goals, what happens over time is, let's say you're showing up for something consistently. You say, I'm going to post one time a day on Instagram every single day. And of course, some days there are days where you're off, but consistently you're showing up every single day. That habit over time becomes automatic. And the thing that used to take you 45 minutes now takes you 15 minutes, becomes easier and more efficient, and therefore takes less energy. So if we want to look at how we can actually optimize your energy when you're closing the gap from point A to point B, it's all about how can you create automation on some level, but how can you create these habits that are automatic in your system so you're primed and you're ready to get into it. What this also does is it puts you back in charge of your own destiny. This is perhaps my favorite part of habits. There is so much that's out of your control when it comes to hitting a goal. You don't know how long it's going to take you. You don't know exactly the time frame of when you're going to hit that goal. That is the beauty of life and the beauty of letting yourself be surprised and delighted by all the different twists and turns of your entire path, right? But what you can control is how you are showing up every single day. and the things that you are doing and the habits you're putting in place to create a level of consistency. You are in charge. You can totally be in charge of creating these daily micro action wins for yourself. Habits not only create repetition, but repetition creates efficiency, yes, and also creativity. This is, to me, one of the most paradoxical parts where most people will look at habits and say, oh, well, structure, that's boring. Isn't that going to hinder my creativity? But have you ever gotten consistent in a habit? And let's say you set aside time. Let's use this example of posting on social media. And you set aside time every single day to post on social media. In the beginning, it takes a lot of mental effort, feels a little bit forced. You feel like your creativity isn't there. Over time, your brain starts to get in the pattern of being like, oh, I know that 11 o'clock, I'm sitting down and I'm going to post something on social media. I know that at this time, this is what I'm going to do. And so your brain is already primed to get into that action. Therefore, when it can sense, hey, this is coming, you're going to start reeling with these different ideas. Your creativity is going to start to spark because your body knows what it's getting ready for. This to me is the beauty of habits, but it takes this crunchy in between when you're first setting up your habits. Oh, it might not feel like that. You might be sitting down and be like, oh, no creativity is coming to me. I'm used to doing it on the fly. We love doing it on the fly. And also, over time, once you get through that little crunchy bit of like, I don't want to do it right now, you will be amazed at the creativity that starts to flow. So let's say your goal is to get in the best shape of your life. Then the habit that you can implement is, okay, so I'm going to go to the gym every other day from 7:30 to 8:30. This is going to be my plan. And every single time I'm going to work a different muscle group. You have a set plan. You know exactly what you're doing and it's in your calendar. Let's say your goal, your overarching goal is that you want to scale to 20K months. Okay, so what is the one habit that you can put in place there? Let's say you're going to make 10 connections a day. Let's say you're going to post one time on social media, hitting these different areas of your content strategy and relating back to your business per day. Let's say your goal is to create more space for fun and play within your life. A habit is maybe you take up a new hobby that gets you outside doing something active with somebody that you love. One thing we've started doing is we're taking salsa lessons. Nolan and I take salsa lessons. We're already signed up on Saturday evenings. And it's that thing to bring more fun and more play. And the best part about all of this is that over time with these habits, like when you first set up a habit, it takes some trial and error. It's not going to be perfect the first time. You're going to think that you can do X and you can actually do it at this level, right? But over time, you start to see what you like and don't like. You start to see what works and what doesn't work. And you can make these incremental shifts. Inevitably makes you better at your craft. Not only that, but then you get to start to create space for what I love to nerd out on, which is your sexy systems and structure. Once you get clear on your habits, then you can get so efficient that there's an actual system for your habits, which then increases your follow through even more, makes it easy to create more space in your life to have fun and to play. Right? And the third piece is that just by showing up, you'll likely see results, which to me is the coolest part. And I was talking about this with one of my clients. I've shared this example before, but it is so wonderful and it's just burned in my memory forever because it was that pivotal of a conversation. And we were talking about how she goes to the climbing gym. And she just absolutely loves going. It's one of her hobbies. It's something that she does to just blow off steam. And she said, Steph, yeah, the craziest thing, I started warming up on a route that used to be the hardest route for me. And I was like, that's pretty dope. How'd you get there? She was like, well, I just kept showing up and every single time I would, assess how my body was feeling. I'd do this route and then I'd do that route and then I'd push myself to do this route. And over time, I got there. And I said, okay, so just by showing up at the gym, you inevitably got better. She said, yeah. Just by showing up at the gym, you inevitably hit that goal that at one point you set for yourself. She said, yeah. Right? So without any pressure, just showing up, having fun, doing the thing, but being consistent. She said, yeah. Right? The same is true for business. The same is true for your life and any goal that you want to set just by showing up and you going to the gym. I've seen this like crazy. Now that I've been so consistent going in the gym, my strength has just gone through the absolute roof. Who knew? All it took was showing up consistently. Who knew? Right? It's true for any goal within your life. Showing up and doing the work and assessing what's working, what's not working, making these incremental shifts, you are going to get to see results and you'll get to enjoy the process. This is all about making your life fun and rich and exciting through your daily action. Now, the last thing I'll say about habits before we start getting into the nitty gritty of implementing this into your life is that not all habits are created equal. This is similar to the fact that just being busy doesn't mean that you're actually moving the needle on your goals, unfortunately. I wish you could just be busy and do whatever it is that you wanted, but it doesn't mean that the important things are actually getting done. The same is true with your habits, right? Many people will set things that I call background habits. These are habits that are just keeping the boats afloat within your life. They're making you appear and look busy, but they're not actually doing the heavy lifting of moving the needle from where you are to where you desire to be. Then we have needle moving habits. So these are things that you repeat every single day that actually move you closer to your end result. However, they might be a little bit uncomfortable. They're likely going to be somewhat scary and exciting within you. They might not be super glamorous, but they actually make a difference. So, for example, if I'm using this example of going to the gym, I could totally say, yeah, I'm just going to go to the gym every other day and I'm going to kind of see what sparks my interest, but I'm going to just make sure that I show up at the gym. So I go into the gym and I mosey around and I lift some weights here and there. I maybe do my shoulders and then I work my glutes and then I get kind of tired. So I scroll on social media and then I look at the time and I say, wow, my time is up. I went to the gym. Which is beautiful and cute. And sometimes we need that phase to create a habit, the phase where we are just getting in there. However, is it really going to yield the results that you want if you want to get in the strongest shape of your life? Likely not, right? Versus if I walk into the gym, I have a set plan. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know the muscles that I'm going to work. I warm up, I cool down, I go home, I nourish my body with protein, bada bing, bada boom, we're on with the day. Or is that actually going to move the needle towards where I want to be? And maybe that takes a little bit of research. Maybe it takes a little bit of prep. Maybe it takes even hiring a professional to understand the exact steps to get you from point A to point B. However, it's going to get me there, right? That's an actual needle moving habit. Takes more thought, takes more energy. In the long term, though, it creates greater payoff. So I want you to look at your life right now. And if you have habits that are already put in place, are they background habits? Or are they needle moving habits? And how could we start to shift towards those needle moving habits if you really want to see a change within your life? Now, when we go to implement this into your life, we're going to look at it from 3 different levels to really increase your follow through. The first level is your goals. You've already done this if you listen to part 2. These are your specific and tangible goals in each area of your life. Now, your goal is the target. It's still wonderful. It's still incredible. We want to have goals, right? They give us direction. They give us something to focus in on. However, only focusing on that goal isn't going to be enough, right? The second step that we want to go from there is up-leveling your habits. Your habits are the vehicle to get you from where you are to that end goal, to where you desire to be. And then the third level from there is creating systems and structure. And I'm on a quest to make structure sexy again because it is so fun. And this is where we start to make your habits even easier and more efficient with a repeatable system that creates even more space for freedom and fun in your life, which we'll get into in the next episode. This one is all about those habits, baby. So let's dive into how to actually create these non-negotiable needle moving habits for yourself. The first step of what I want you to do is go ahead and look at your goals. Actually, the first step, go ahead and download the worksheet that is attached to this because it's going to walk you through it step by step and you can follow along. Then from there is to look at your goals. Look at each of these goals and pick out your top 3 most important goals. You've already done that in part 2. From there, what you're going to do is to list out every single one of the action steps that might get you to your goal. So some people like to reverse engineer this where you start at the end and you say, what is the very last thing I'm going to do before achieving that goal? And then you work your way up. Or you might want to start with what is the first thing to do. Just give yourself a rough outline because what we're going to focus on are those key habits, right? So the next step from there is we want to look at what are these skills that are actually going to get you there. So if we look at getting your business to a certain point, likely it's going to become an absolute offer making ninja where you know the core steps to creating a mind-blowing offer. If let's say your goal is to bring more ease and more fun into your life. What's a skill that might get you there? A skill, in my example, is salsa. Oh, we want to learn dance. That could be a skill set that I could practice. So let's say the goal is to get in the best shape of your life. What is the skill that's actually going to get you there? Maybe it's being the consistent athlete who just shows up for their time. Maybe it's mastering your way around the gym. And then from there, looking at these skills, what are the 3 non-negotiable habits that you could start implementing that are actually going to move the needle to get you there? So, for example, with getting your business to a certain place, let's say your 3 non-negotiables are creating 10 connections a day, posting once on social media, and allocating 25 minutes to work on your offer. Let's say your goal is to get in the best shape of your life. 3 non-negotiable repeatable habits. Maybe it's 5,000 steps a day, move your body at least once, and nourish with 30 grams of protein first thing. Let's say your goal is to bring more fun and more play in your life. Maybe those non-negotiable habits are, hey, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, we're going to have date night. Saturdays, we're going to salsa from this time to this time. And then we're going to schedule a quarterly adventure where we pick a new place and we go adventure there. So you get to have fun with these non-negotiable habits. Yes, sometimes they're very cut and dry, but also if your goal is a little bit more playful, let's say, let your habits also be playful. The next piece you're going to ask yourself is, how often will you complete these? Now, some of your habits might be daily habits. Some of them might be every other. Some of them might be once a week. You get to set the cadence of them depending on the specific habit and what it calls for, but decide how often. And then what is your plan for making it happen? There's a study by the British Journal of Health and Psychology that says that participants who had a plan for when and where they were going to complete exercise in this study, exercise in this example, actually doubled their follow through. So when and where are you going to do it? Create a plan. I love to do this by literally just putting it in your calendar and setting reminders that there's no possible way that you could miss it. And then from there, what you're going to do is set a cue for the habit. So every single habit in your life gets to have a trigger. There's incredible books that talk all about this. One is Indistractable by Nir Eyal. I might be butchering his name. Another is Atomic Habits, which I've talked about, by James Clear. They talk about that every single habit needs a cue, something to trigger it to get done. So whether this is a calendar invite, sometimes that is the easiest one to do, which is just setting a reminder on your calendar. It's what I love to do. Or whether it is something that is more emotional, or after you do a certain thing, you do this. Set a specific cue for this habit so that there's no possible way you can miss it. And then how could you make it so easy that there is no reason not to do it? So for example, maybe if you're going to the gym, you put your clothes out the night before. So how could you make it so easy that you have no choice not to do it? So for example, one of the simplest things that I love to add in is really breaking down your action steps. This is one of the simplest things that you can do for yourself. When you are starting a new habit, inevitably it's going to take a little bit of energy. There's going to be that crunchy period where you feel like a little baby giraffe. You're trying to find your way to create this new habit. Please do not shoot yourself in the foot by making it so freaking hard that there's no possible way you could do it. Sometimes you might make your habits really hard by making them really big. For example, if you only put on your calendar, write social media post or create social media post, actually, that is like 4 different steps. Do yourself the service of breaking it down. Create the visual, write the caption, find the hook, find the sound, whatever it is that are your specific steps, break it down into itty bitty action steps that are going to allow you to get into that so much easier. Let's say you are getting in the best shape of your life and you're going to the gym consistently. Set out your clothes the night before. Make sure that everything is packed and out such that you have no reason not to go. Make it easy for yourself as you're starting a new habit. Now, the last thing that I'll take you through with habits is a fun little hack that I love to do. And when people ask ask me, Steph, how do you get so much done? And how do you actually have a life that's outside of your business? Well, I love the power of habit stacking. Now, to me, the purpose of life is not getting more done. However, it is fun to be efficient, to create time to go just fuck around and do whatever you want. Okay. So habit stacking is where you pair a more complex task with a less complex task and you put them together, because most people will say that our brain is not very good at multitasking. However, studies have shown that your brain can actually multitask. It just has to be a complex task and a lower level task. So, for example, one of my goals is to read one book a month. And by read, I mean listen to on Audible. So, what I have done is I look at the book that I want to read for the month. I look at how many minutes in total that entire book is. I calculate that, or I divide that by 30 to calculate the amount of minutes that I get to read per day. This is how I'm making it easy for my brain. Then I like to listen to that podcast as I'm cooking dinner, which is another one of my habits that I'm creating this year, where I cook dinner for my man at least twice a week because he does an incredible job at doing most of the cooking. And I want to get in there. So I'm completing one habit while also doing another. Studies also show that our brain is actually more creative when we're walking, even at a very slow pace. So, one of my goals is to get at least 4,000 to 6,000 steps a day. Another one of my goals is to write more, right? So, as I'm walking on this treadmill, I'm writing more. Or if you have a sidewalk outside that is safe, I literally used to type all of my captions while just going for a walk. Beautiful time to use your brain to create. Or let's say you have a friend in the area that you want to catch up with, and also one of your goals is to work out and catch up with a friend. We bring these habits together. Life starts to feel so freaking rich, and you get that momentum that comes from knowing that you are shifting your life every single day. Now, the last message that I'll leave you with habits is that your habits will allow you to meet your upper limit. So, once you start setting that habit, and maybe it's after a week, maybe it's a week and a half, maybe it's after 30 days of doing something and your body just wants to wiggle out of it. You want to find some reason why you can just say, fuck it, this doesn't work. I'm not doing it. I'm going back to the old way. Or your body will literally create some sort of cute, silly little excuse as to why you can no longer do it. And you say, that was really great, but it's just not for me, right? That point. That is your upper limit. Now, your upper limit is basically that threshold when you are about to blast off into completely doing something in a new way. That habit is about to be solidified as automatic and something that's easy and just part of who you are. When you are about to blast through, what the brain and the body wants to do is bring you back down to what is called your thermostat. And these terms, upper limit and thermostat, these terms were coined by the author Gay Hendricks. And he states that all of us have an internal thermostat. This is kind of like the set point of where our bodies and our minds are comfortable being. So these are the patterns that you've always habitually been in. These are the ways of thinking that you've been in, right? And when we start to disturb that thermostat and go beyond that internal set point, well, we will create some sort of drama in life to bring us back down to that thermostat point. However, not you, because you are busting through your upper limit. And the way to bust through the upper limit is to become conscious of when you are wanting to sabotage and go back on your word and wiggle out of it and recognize, is this actually truth that I can't follow through with this habit? Or is this potentially me hitting my upper limit? And if I just keep going a little bit more, maintain this consistency, I'm going to blast through that upper limit. I'm going to show myself a new level of power that is possible within. You're going to unlock that potential that has been there, but for some reason you haven't understood how to actually tap into it. It's through busting through your upper limit, and your upper limit can come in so many different facets of life. So just a fun little thing to play around with and to see. So holy freaking cannoli. We have been through a whole lot of content in this entire episode. Your action item from here is to get so crystal clear. What are your 3 non-negotiables that are going to move the needle forward towards your specific goal? Implement them in your life. Let me know how it goes. As always, tag me on Instagram at Stephanie Elsperman. I cannot wait to see what is resonating with you. As always, I hope that something has landed for you today and that it has created just a micro shift that makes your life feel even more fully alive. I will see you on the next episode of Prep Season, where we are headed into making structure sexy again, creating the systems necessary to make your habits even more efficient in your life and create even more space for freedom, fun, and play. I'll see you there.